What's up, guys? It's Greeny here. Welcome to Block Talk. Our first ever episode is just about to go live and you're about to watch it. Big shout out to my co-founder, OG, who interviewed the Gigaverse founder, Dith, earlier today. This episode is fantastic because it dives deep into the ecosystem of Gigaverse itself, gaming in crypto, and also Abstract Chain, which has been going crazy viral over the past couple of weeks. So as always, if you like this content and you would like to see this channel grow, please like, please subscribe, and turn notifications on so you don't miss any of our streams coming up in the coming weeks. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this video.
So good morning, everyone. It's your boy Mindful Markets. Here we are with our special guest for episode of 1 of Block Talk. This is a very special episode for me. It's episode 1, and it is an episode with a dev and founder of one of the games I am actually playing the most on Abstract currently. So without further ado, I'd like you guys to meet OX Dith if you guys did not know him already.
Hey, man. Yeah, super excited to do this with you. I know you've been playing the game, been in the community, you've shared like awesome ideas and suggestions. And so, yeah, it's really good to see you begin your content career.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, the game's been a lot of fun. I love how you guys are constantly working at things, constantly listening to people that are playing the games. Your suggestions section in the Discord actually gets answered a lot by the team. So I love that. You guys have such a strong team. So when I had the opportunity to reach out to you and get this done, and I saw that you said yes, I was super ecstatic. So this is going to be a lot of fun.
Same here, man. Been looking forward to it, and yeah, down to jam on any topic you want, man. Fire away.
Okay, so let's get into the basics. So if anyone doesn't know you already or your journey, we could start with that. My first question would be, what and how did you first get into crypto? Like, what was it that got you into it, and when was that?
So I started reading like a lot about crypto and sort of the 2014, 2015, 2016 era. Just before, I think it was in 2017, that the Bitcoin top around then was what, 17 or 18K. So just kind of in the lead up to that, that cycle, I didn't actually go out and own any, partly because of the friction. Like I looked at like, oh, you need to go and use this like Mt. Gox thing, and it's like, it looks shady as shit. How am I going to do it? I can't be bothered with the friction. I think I was like, just a classic sort of mid-curver, actually, in that like I had a lot of the information, and one or two people that I knew and who I thought were pretty smart were like believers back then. But I didn't, build enough inertia in my interest to like go and actually own any crypto or to like mess around. That ended up happening for me more around 2020. A big catalyst for me was learning I joined a payments company. It's called Stripe, and one of the nice things they do there for anyone who joins who hasn't worked in payments, they hire a lot of people that have never worked in the industry on purpose, because when you join the company, they spend the first 3 months like educating you about payments, how they work, how like Visa and MasterCard take their fees, how the international banking system works. And honestly, so you get this like little mini MBA in payments and money transfers and so on. And like, honestly, within like a couple of weeks of just going through this like onboarding content and like learning all about payments, that's when it really clicked. And I was like, oh shit, like crypto, now I understand.
This all makes sense.
Yeah. But from a very real, like from a, it's a meme, right? That we're all here for the tech. It's truly like a meme. But legitimately, when I understood TradFi payment stack, I was like, that shit's crazy. Why does it take 7 days for like an international banking transfer to go from this country to that country? Why are there like 7 middlemen, taking a cut of a transaction when they don't really provide much value there? So I got, I got a lot further down the rabbit hole and actually bothered like creating a wallet, messing around on chain and looking at what's what. And then the final piece was 2021, where I just found NFTs so fun. I try to like break down why I find NFTs so fun, and I think a lot of it has to do with like childhood experiences. I was always like an action figure kid. Like I like collecting shit. That's kind of like what a 10K NFT collection is, right? It's like for anyone that grew up in like the GI Joe era of like action figures, it was basically that. Like, hey, here's like 10K characters, and you gotta own them all type thing. So I found NFTs very fun and started trading them, and it kind of caught the bug that way. And then naturally, just to round off, like, I'd spent most of my life in startups, either building my own or helping friends with theirs, or even when I was at Stripe, I was leading a go-to-market team aimed at growth startups. And so it was like only a matter of time before I started like messing around and trying to build things myself. And like the rest is history basically from there. Like then it was only a matter of time before I figured out how to make the move into crypto full time.
So that's funny you say that. I have a very similar experience when getting into crypto. I actually bought crypto without knowing it was crypto for the first time in 2017.
Oh man! So what was the onboarding experience then for you?
So I was a big reseller in sneakers. That was like my background. That's where I came from, like business wise. And at the time, during flipping sneakers, crypto, had the cycle top, and a lot of people started making a lot of money posting about it. And we're businessmen and flippers, so naturally, if you see an opportunity with that type of like ROI, you lean into it. But I was retail 2017 100%. I ended up buying the top. I ended up like putting some money onto something, like you said. Like it was very sketchy. Bought it through Cash App, had to send it somewhere else, and waited for the funds. Bought some tokens that rugged and everything. Lost a lot of money, and then I wasn't too interested in it until 2020 again, kind of like you. And then through those 3 years of experience in like business for me, then I was like sending payments throughout the country when I'd have to send like a wire to California or whatever, like somewhere else, and it would take 3 to 5 days to process these transactions. And then I got started really looking into crypto, not just for like the quick gains, but for actually the tech as well, and the gains, like to understand both sides of things. And that's what really got me into it, because then I was like, hey man, like people are doing transactions for the same cost or a fraction of the cost, and they're getting instant payments, whereas I'm using this bank being questioned every time. Like I'm using my bank to send a payment, and they're giving me trouble, plus it's taking a long time. So it's funny that it's a very similar experience, and it's usually that, like, especially when you do start to like understand payment, it's like, well, I mean, if it's not crypto, the Swift system at least doesn't make sense anymore. So there is something that needs to be there to replace it.
I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. Like, there's a few industries that I, just as like a believer in like good, clean UX and like straightforward customer service, and like actually having a reliable sort of service and the rest, banking, I put telcos and insurance companies as close follow-ups there. But yeah, I mean, you're 100% preaching to the choir on this one. I think I'd love to see nothing more than, I mean, look, being pragmatic, it's not necessarily about crypto like overthrowing the banking system. Like that's not going to happen. But can crypto help kind of galvanize that industry into like up leveling a bunch of shit,
100%.
Both from a tech perspective, user experience perspective, and transparency perspective, and so on. I think there's a lot that we can do there, but it's really going to be a multi-decade effort. Part of why I mid-curved crypto back in 2017 was I was like, the banks and the governments are never going to let this happen. Like, why would they? Like, their interests are too entrenched. There's going to be like so many forces working against this. It's partly why, like, I didn't give it a second look back then. But it's just so funny how in just 8 years, all of a sudden now, like, governments are FOMOing in, right? It's going to be a point actually potentially in the near future where governments are flexing who has more Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And then shortly thereafter, I mean, it's going to be governments flexing who owns more Gigaverse ROMs. Like,
yes.
That's the natural next, first Bitcoin fine, and then Gigaverse ROMs, right?
No, you're 100% right, and I love that. No, you're 100% right. So the next question would be, what is your background in gaming and coding? So how did you get, we now know how you got into crypto, but what was the gaming and coding side of things?
Gaming, very simply, like grew up as a gamer. I think the first, I can't remember what I owned first. Was it the Sega Game Gear or the Mega Drive? But I was like 6 years old, start playing games, and immediately like addicted. Like I love these worlds and these characters and these stories, and I got to get to the next level. It's really kind of like shaped my worldview, right? Like I see most things as a game or as a game system. And it's actually quite a fun way to live and approach life, actually. Like, the school system is a game. Most jobs, and especially working in big companies, there's definitely like big company games. The sort of, I guess the thing there, though, is like breaking into the gaming industry is kind of an odd, especially as someone who's not like, maybe if I were an artist or if I were a developer, there's a more clear route in. But for those of us who love games but who study business or who study something, like I studied healthcare, I studied medicine, and so I kind of like resigned to this. Like I guess I'll love games. I'll be a huge consumer, but maybe never get a chance to build one. So crypto actually ended up being like the bridge for me, like the segue to like where can I actually kind of like, where can this opportunity like present itself for me to, I mean, this is like essentially what I've dreamed of my whole life, like building a game. Now before Gigaverse, I was working with a team called Proof of Play, and they're building a game called Pirate Nation. So I spent a couple of years and then like really smart, experienced people in that team, seeing firsthand from the inside how game design decisions are made and balancing, and how your decisions impact the players and so on, right? And like understanding what good metrics look like. So it was only fairly recently that I actually kind of was able to get this experience. The benefit, of course, was that trad gaming is quite different from on-chain crypto gaming. There's some similarities, but there's also some important differences in terms of what players expect and how you build a product that they like and that they want to use, and so on. So that was the sort of on the gaming path. And coding wise, like I'm not a developer. This meme, actually, this this Rick Rubin, the vibe the vibe guy.
I already know where you're going.
The original. But I mean, look, you grew up in a family of like engineers, so I understand it from a systems perspective, and I was always able to hack together like, I can make websites, I can make very basic sort of basic things, even back in the day where it was just like, hey, fire up a CMS, or you want to host a forum or something. I was always able to do that kind of shit because honestly, anyone that's willing to spend 20 minutes can figure it out. But yeah, I mean, now in the age of AI, like, wow, I guess like I can probably vibe code a lot more right now. When it comes to Gigaverse, like, no, I'm not vibe coding us through this, lads. My co-founder is a very, very talented and experienced engineer and game designer. So, we have proper developers and engineers actually building the thing. And I basically get to be the intern here, which is what I enjoy. Like, I really, more than anything, a go-to-market guy. So I like telling the story and amplifying creators and being, in with the community and making sure that we build shit that people want. But I leave the actual building to the people who can.
I love that, and it's actually perfect. It brings me to my next question. How did you and Aiz meet? Is that how you say his name?
Eyes, yeah, Eyes. How did we meet? I want to say, I think he was running a guild. He was running a guild, and he was creating really good. Like, he's always been like the infographics god, right? Like, that's what his. At least that was my first impression when I first saw him on the timeline. And so I think we connected just casually over DMs, like, "Yo, man, great infographic," or something. I think that was how we connected initially. And then he minted, before Gigaverse, we minted a PFP collection like a year ago called Good Luck Have Funners. And he minted. So like he was in our community from the very, very beginning.
Okay, that's crazy as well, because it brings me to my next question as well. How did Good Luck Have Funners come together, and what was the idea behind it?
Idea was very simple. It was just like, hey, there's a lot of like people building on-chain games, but if you look at the NFT collections corresponding to those games, I thought a lot of those collections were like, I don't know, some weird kind of game character, which it's too like it focuses on a single game, and also I think some of that art is whack, right? Like you look at some of those collections, and I'm just like, this is cringy as fuck. I'm not gonna like PFP that thing. So I was like, I want a PFP that I can that I really like, and that I think kind of like is game agnostic as well. It just more broadly says, like, what a really good PFP does is it says something about you, right? Like, I think Pudgy Penguins have done this very, very well. Many of the biggest collections have done this, where like the PFP kind of like stands for a set of values, or it says something about the kind of people that like to wear it. And so that was the thinking with Good Luck Have Fun. Like, let's make a PFP collection that people who love on-chain games and who are good at them will wear this PFP. And then, yeah, we launched it, no roadmap. Like, it was, we actually kind of like went the extra, like we were purposefully very, very loud about that. Like, hey, it's just a PFP collection, set no expectations, nothing else is happening. And then, of course, at some point, stuff started happening. And I mean, that's been the model ever since. I don't want people to like just sort of, I don't want to like take away the fun of having everything be expected, right?
Right, and I love that actually, and it's perfect for the name as well. And I love the PFP as well. Your one in particular is very sick. I have a lot of ROMs, but that's how I personally got into the collection. I got in through Abstract. I was introduced through the gaming, the dApps. I saw the game. I got super addicted to the game. I loved it. Loved the idea of everything coming out. I kind of saw the vision in the beginning. I have around 50 ROMs right now. But I definitely do also want to make my way and get myself a PFP. Good Luck Have Funners for sure.
I love it, man. The community are very, yeah, you depending what you're looking for, the community will be very helpful and help you pick out one you love. And yeah, love that you have 50 ROMs, man. ROM maxing.
Yeah, ROM maxing for sure. So why did you guys choose Abstract for the game launch? And was there another chain in competition, or did you guys just know, like, hey, Abstract, this is it, we're going full in?
So I think a lot about these kind of decisions through the go-to-market lens. My co-founder obviously thinks about them a lot through the technical lens. And yeah, I mean, we had back then, it was sort of like October of last year. About 6 months ago, we kind of had a short list of chains that we knew were coming online soon. At the time, you had like Mega ETH had already announced their raise, and Monad had announced, and Bera was not yet live, and there was like a lot. There still kind of is a lot, right? There's always another L2. I think it came down to like a couple things more than anything with Abstract. Like, number one, just like really like the team, very experienced. They're like awesome guys, and they get it, right? Like, it's very easy to like. Honestly, this matters as well. Like, you can kind of like meme or like have a good time or like share the same sense of humor. So really appreciate just like the way that they interact and they lean in and super responsive, which is how you should be. As like this is a, for this kind of partnership, it makes a lot of sense.
100%.
I see some examples where you reach out to a chain and like, hey, it takes them like a day or two to get back, or the BD guy is like half fucking asleep, or he's just not up to par on like the culture, or they're not serious about gaming, they don't understand it. Those things can like turn you off. So it's kind of a combination. Abstract really stood out for being really good, and I think other options kind of eliminated themselves for not being good. And then the other piece, which is I think ultimately like, just very, very in line with where they're heading, what they're trying to do, is they really place an emphasis on, this tagline. We want to be like the consumer chain. We want to help solve the distribution channel. We want to like increase the overall pie, increase the overall GDP of the on-chain audience, bring in new audience members. And honestly, like you hear other people say this kind of stuff, but Abstract is building it. Like the portal is, their startup, right? And the portal is like a pretty new product, but it's come a long way since Abstract launched, two and a half months ago. The portal's improving, they're shipping updates, they got criticized in a way, right? For in the beginning, catering too much to like the people who didn't already have a wallet. And it was like a little bit painful, like if you wanted to come in with an existing wallet like MetaMask. But that's because they have this goal in mind, right? Like, let's make this a really easy sort of, what do they call it? Like on-chain Disneyland for people who don't own any crypto yet. So I really like that vision. And that's honestly, that's like the ultimate value prop that an L2 should help offer its apps and games. Like we have a massive top of funnel. We know how to go and get new users and people who've maybe never interacted with crypto before. And we want to grow the pie. And when we do so, you guys are going to be the first apps and games that those people try. So I really like that, and I think they're following through with their vision. It takes time, right? Building something like this these are big products, complicated products, and the market is like really sort of weird right now. But the vision makes a whole lot of sense, and good things take time.
No, I agree, and I think you guys made the right choice by going on Abstract. I really do like what they're doing with the portal. I like that they're working with teams very closely, and that they're vetting everything that they're putting out before it goes out there, and they have to like go through a series of protocols. So I do think Abstract is doing very well with working with people they are bringing with them, and are launching on their chain and actually putting out a good product. So I think that was a really good choice. And so that goes into my next question. You and Aiz both recently quit your jobs to go full time into Gigaverse. I would like to ask, has it been a challenge, and what made you guys take that leap of faith right now?
There's not really been, I wouldn't say there's been a challenge. I really like what I was doing at Proof of Play. Like, as I say, I have a lot of friends there, learned a lot, and we were having fun. So in that sense, it was a bit bittersweet. But honestly, that's ironically how I felt about leaving Stripe. Like when I was working at Stripe to leave for Proof of Play, like I had an awesome team that I built myself, and I also was like in the process of receiving, back then it's like a big company, so this sort of thing is just part of the retention model. But I was receiving like a big promotion and the rest. So I consider myself quite fortunate in that sense, that it's always been like a bittersweet goodbye to the previous thing to like go into the next, which I was taking that bet on on-chain gaming back then, because it was like when I left Stripe, it was a few months after the FTX crash. So ETH was like at 1100, and all my friends were like, are you sure you want to go crypto right now? And it's somewhat poetic that like whenever the market goes through these like really weird, troublesome times, I like that. I like to take that as an opportunity to make a big bold bet on something. That big bold bet last time was on like on-chain gaming, and now that big bold bet is on Gigaverse specifically, taking everything that I'd seen and learned both from Pirate Nation, but also other games who I became friends with the founders, or I spent a lot of time playing or paying attention to, or like analyzing from a what went right, what went wrong perspective. And now I get to put all of that into Gigaverse. So it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, like this is like the very early days of us. The team's very lean. We there's 4 of us full time now. We have a couple of other folks who are kind of almost there, almost full time. And yeah, I mean, the one thing that I would say on the topic, on this sort of topic as well, is that I see, a lot of teams in on-chain gaming, they like to, I don't know, they kind of approach it the wrong way, I think. And they want to start by going out and raising like some monster round from, some big name VCs. And then they want to have a really bloated team of like 50 to 100 people. And then they want to go off and build a game. We flip that on its head by being like, hey, let's build the game first and take it to market and build a community around it. And I think no matter how far we go and how much we grow, the question for me is always going to be like, what's the most impact we can have? What's the best game we can build? And what's the most value we can create with no more than like 5 to 10 people? I spent a lot of time on this, like thinking about this topic of like how you just scale really effectively and can move really fast. And I kind of hate big companies, to be frank, because in big companies, people get comfortable, they move slow, it gets bogged down with bureaucracy and politics. I have no time or interest in any of that shit. So, this is going to be the fun game that we play internally, which is like, as we build this game, how can we like run a really efficient company and achieve the kind of scale of like, honestly, I look at, there's many good examples, but even outside of gaming, you can look at Instagram or WhatsApp, or look within gaming as well as really good examples. Supercell, I tweeted about, and I spent a bunch of time like looking at, and the reason that company is actually called Supercell is for the reason that like they structured the company around these literal supercells of people, where like very small numbers of people can actually put out like a really great game. So yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. It's been a blast. And even though like our vision is very big, we're approaching it in this way.
I think that's actually amazing. A lot of people don't understand, like, yeah, it's great to be, around and in the social platforms when everything's up and everything's running and everyone's happy. But during that downtime, where things might not be as good, if you, lock in and, focus on what you want to focus, there's a lot of opportunity. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. And to go back to what you were saying on like not having things built out too fast, it's like good things take times and fast things falter. So I think you guys have been doing things at a good pace. I think you guys are have the really good mindset towards building Gigaverse, and keeps it rolling, because I think like you guys been shipping a lot of updates now left and right from week to week. So I want to get into that, and I want to get into the game. So what would you tell us about the new workbench and the armor upgrades that you guys have just shipped out? I personally, I have been crafting a lot more. Not that I already have been. I'm over 3K alchemy XP. I've been getting as much as I can, so I could craft in the workshop. I think I have over 40 items crafted on the workshop already. So we would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so I mean this is part of the game ultimately, right? Like I think like really good games give you there's like different ways to play them, right? And it can be a number of things, from like within a single game loop, like combat, there could be like different builds. But then there's like, there's other ways to kind of think about the role that you want to play in the wider context of the game or the economy. Do I want to be someone who's like really good at, do I want to try to like collect certain types of items? Do I want to like be hunting for deals on those? Do I want to be the person who like specializes in crafting, that kind of stuff? And so, yeah, like a lot of the stuff that we've launched in, these first few weeks is really just like setting up these like core game systems that ultimately, like right now, kind of feel like mini games. But as the game gets bigger and bigger and bigger, they kind of grow from mini games maybe into being like macro games in a way. Like you could probably really kind of like specialize and focus on one thing or another. Ideally, like, where we want to take the game is to a place that people can spend a lot of time in it. They can experience it in different ways. They can do a bit of everything, or they can like really like focus on a few core loops that they really like. And if they're missing stuff, you can trade. There's a marketplace. There'll eventually be guilds. There'll be these systems where you can play the game how you want, and kind of like experience it that way. On crafting specifically, like I think there's a couple of things that I enjoy. There's firstly, like, there's a very basic kind of gacha system there where it's just like, what rarity am I going to get? But there can even be crafts later, man, where it's like you don't actually know what end item you're going to get, right? Maybe the ingredients are the same, but there's like 3 or 5 different outcomes. So there's a lot that we can do with the crafting system. We built it in such a way that, like, right now, you guys as players, you can't see the depth of it on the back end, but it's actually a very, very deep system, and we built it so that it gives us like a lot of optionality for future things. And the last thing I'll say is you'll be getting some more stuff you can craft like really soon.
Okay, I love to hear that. So the team acted really fast when you saw how the common marketplaces were ruining the secondary economy in game. Now you guys shipped out the Giga Market about a month. So first and foremost, I want to say congratulations to that. And I want to touch on what you were just saying, where like with the new skills and with the addition of an actual Giga Market, you guys are actually creating an economy in game and a merch basically. So the ability to, like you said, do different things in game. So if it's not that you want to be fighting or doing the PvP part every day, or that's not where you want to, specialize in, you could specialize in crafting. You could specialize in the person who wants to have the armor. And then with the evolution of the game, because we're still in the base, like you said, everything needs to come together. When it does get to that like bigger picture, and then you're sitting on, your specialty or whatever the case may be, and we have a Giga Market, it ties everything together to, I think, bring the game to the next level. So what do you think the Giga Market yourself brought to the game? How do you guys like the success of it so far, and how have the numbers been?
So we immediately saw the difference so one of the, with Abstract being like a new ecosystem, the only marketplace that supports ERC 1155s. So, with NFTs, there's a few different standards, right? 721 is what all the PFP collections are, but 1155s are what you'd use for like a game item collection, like ours, because you and I, we own the same item. So it's like a singular listing or item on the marketplace, and whatever I'm selling, whatever you're selling is all in the same spot. The only marketplace that was supporting 1155s on Abstract, I think still today is the case. Maybe OpenSea will support them at some point soon. But when we launched the game and had this item collection, the only marketplace supporting it was Magic Eden. And I think there's like a couple things to say there. Number one is, it makes no sense for any game that has an in-game economy to send people to some third-party website, some external browser, different service, reconnect your wallet, look around, find these items which you maybe you don't know the context of this item when it just sits in a random third-party marketplace. Whereas when it sits in your game, you can see like, hey, this item is required to craft X, Y, or Z. So the UX just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The second thing I'd say is like it's kind of there's probably something to say from a how would I frame it, like a business exposure perspective, that you're like reliant on this other business to have their uptime and to not charge shitty fees and to actually give you the features that you want. Like one of the missing features on Magic Eden for a game item collection like ours is you can still list soul-bound items, which is dumb. It's like a completely broken UX, because now someone's able to list. So the person who's selling the item or listing the item thinks it can be sold. Why can I list it if it can't be sold? And the buyer goes to try and buy it and they can't. And then some other guy comes and lists thinking the same thing, and like perpetually lowers the floor. So yeah, it just made no sense. And on the topic of like businesses, games and other collections and so on, not wanting to rely too much on third-party marketplaces, there's a provider of a marketplace API called Reservoir, which is what like a lot of NFT marketplaces that run on their own. They run their own marketplace. They will use that API, but Reservoir literally yesterday or the day before announced they're discontinuing it.
Wow.
So I think there's going to be a lot of teams who all of a sudden are like, oh, we're running our own marketplace and now we need to like figure out another solution because that API is being discontinued. Anyway, I set all of that context because we decided to launch our marketplace sooner than we intended. And we decided not to use any third-party shit whatsoever. No other APIs, no reliance on anyone. So it was a really big build, and it's kind of like its own business, right? Like we had a lot of teams reach out to us, and they're like, "Hey, we want to use your marketplace." And going back to what I was saying earlier, for this to work, this approach where we're like being very, very like laser focused on how we spend our time, it was kind of like tempting to be like, hey, should we just like be the guys that figure out like in-game marketplaces? But the very easy answer is no, because like we see a much bigger opportunity in building a killer game that people really love to play and that has a really like thriving in-game economy. And now we have this edge of actually like, we spend the time to build this marketplace ourselves. So I started telling teams like, feel free to like be inspired by us, copy us, go and do your own version of this. And yeah, I will say that like with the launch of crafting, I think we had like a 48-hour period where I need to double check this. I'll check it, and if it's correct, I'll tweet about it. But yeah, we had something like a 48-hour period where the marketplace did like more volume than like like all the time before crafting went live. So it was great to see, because it basically means like, oh, hey, we can introduce, basically people are like sleeping on a bunch of items. I understand why, like you don't know what you can do with them. They literally don't have a use in the game yet. But then we can launch one feature and all the volume is there. So it's going to be pretty fun to do that with like some other items that people don't know what they are for yet.
No, I agree with you 100% there, especially on the part where you said like when it was sitting on a third party, you weren't either sure of what the item does, or it was just a hassle to buy the item. Like I had experiences where like, I buy a lot of bolts and pipes to do crafting. So in order to do so, I usually buy them in the hundreds, and every time I tried to buy 100 at a time on that third party, I would have very bad experiences.
Horrendous.
It would not go through, and like so many. So I just stopped altogether. But when you guys finally shipped it out, I started going heavy. Like I every single day, and you could see it on my history. I am sitting there buying, selling things, things, trying to find my way and try to see, where I fit and what I'd like to do. So
I'm shopping right now, man. I'm like looking.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm waiting. I am waiting for someone to post some of these floor 4 skins at a little more of a nice price so I could finally grab some. But yeah, I'm looking all the time. I love it. I use it every day. I think it's a great feature. And I also saw this when you guys first dropped the Giga Market, and it's been one of the things that's on my mind and I try to track. Um, you said that Gigas is tracking down secondary sales. Anything you can tell us on that?
So yeah, I mean, Gigas. So I think everyone who's played, everyone who's played the game has seen like some part of him or heard the name at least. But for anyone who's not fully clued in, Gigas is the sentient AI creator of Gigaverse. People don't know about his origin, so he's like kind of like a pretty mysterious character. Yeah, there's a little bit about him in the docs that we just published. If you go into our Discord, you'll see he's there. Like there's a Gigas is watching you type status that he has. And so, yeah, I mean, very, very simply, it's kind of like a number of interesting things that we can, or that he can do. And that's like important for us as the guys building the game, and important for like players as like participants in the economy. And one of those is very simply like data consumption and analytics, right? Who's most consistent with their play, who uses what features, who performs really, really well, how do people interact with something like the marketplace, and so on. So I'll let people draw their own implications from what that means. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the bottom line is Gigas is watching everything.
Gigas is watching everything. I love that. So, what would you tell us is next for Gigaverse? Do you have any alpha for the viewers that you'd like to put out there?
I think I don't want to spoil all the surprises. We have a few really cool things coming up, and there's something, as I say, going live like really soon. And then there's like, now that we've got a bunch of these core things down, there's like, I think there's something cool like I want to say like every week. So we're there's going to be like a really fun period of few weeks, and all these things are interconnected. People will see with every like subsequent thing that goes out, they're like, oh, okay, I get it, and I think they'll really like it. Alpha wise, yeah, what can I say? There's going to be more stuff to craft, which isn't just sort of like gear that you wear, so other kinds of gear. There's going to be, yeah. So now that you guys have gear and you have like essentially you have more stats, the game became easier for a bunch of people, right? Like, oh, there's more people reaching the end room. So, like, what typically happens in games like ours when you now have everyone, it's like, okay, now we've made it, guys. Like, we're at the end. No.
You said no. Just getting started, baby.
Sorry, so sorry. Yeah. So yeah, we won't let people. People aren't gonna. They're gonna have new challenges very soon. Let's leave it at that.
I love that. Another thing I saw recently was the mention of ROMs. You said they're at about 4 out of 10, so 40% of their utility. What do we expect there as ROM holders?
Yeah, it's a few things. I would break that down, right? Like, one of the things I think the ROMs don't do very well is they don't stack particularly well. People who hold many kind of end up in this stressful state where they want to spend the energy, but they don't want to spend the time grinding like the Gigas dungeon, which is right now the only place that you can sink like a lot of energy, unless you're like crafting like a madman or something. But really the excess, for you. So like I think that's like one piece. The other piece is that like there's some stuff. I mean, people can see this that just simply hasn't come online yet. Like there's a production bonus, which for everyone is 0% right now. Serial numbers, which we haven't said what they do yet. So there's just like some kind of gaps to fill, so that we like kind of like plug in the utility that's intended there. I think there's also like there's probably like a narrative one-liner for everyone to really understand what the ROMs are in the context of the grand scheme of the game. And I think it's been interesting to see how people what people think they are, and how people convince maybe their friends about them, or how I've seen a few threads and so on. So I think it all has to be tied together in a way that people are ultimately like, oh, I get it, okay, and oh yeah, of course I want more. Of course those benefits scale like linearly, and whether I own 1 or 10 or 50, I'm happy, right? And look, for us as well, that's like a fun. I mean, the whole thing is fun. Building the game is a fun game where we need to think about all these things in balance, right? Like, as I said, if someone owns 1, 10, or 50 ROMs, we want them to be having a great experience and happy with that sizing. But the same for someone who owns none. Like they've got to feel like they have their place in the game as well. And that's how we build like a big game where ultimately like hundreds of thousands of people can potentially play, and we have like a real economy, right? Real living, breathing economy where people have different roles and they have different sizes, and some people are kind of like in at the what you sort of say, the sort of like yields / hesitate to use the term, but like investor level, right? The sort of like, hey, I'm looking to buy and collect like important assets, and there's other people who are more like, hey, I'm simply here to I'm grinding. I'm like the labor in the economy, and I don't have this kind of edge, but I have the time, right? So
I love that.
That's like where we want to get to, and the magic is in balancing. And create these roles for to exist for these different people, and then make sure that they're balanced so everyone is like enjoying their version of the game.
I love that. Honestly, you hit it on the nail in the coffin, or whatever the saying is, because you need free base entry people to play and enjoy the game, and you also have the people that like you said want to dive deeper in it to have some sort of an edge or some sort of a bonus, but also to the point where everybody in the game is happy with what they're doing and where they're at. So I do also want to ask about the ROMs. I have another question. It goes into the tier system. Anything you want to tell us between the differences in silver, gold, void, and gigas, besides just the energy and production on materials?
For now, that's what's known. But I will say that like I like that there are tiers, because it's like a very, very simple way for, let's say, someone new who's coming to the game, and they're looking at that collection. I mean, I often, this is my behavior, right? Like when I'm like, I get into the game, my first like few minutes is really good. Then I'm immediately shopping. What do I need? How do I?
We have that same itch.
Yeah, I want to win. All right, I'm in. You got me. What do I get? Where do I go? And like it's very helpful. Like you go look at the ROMs, and like, okay, I get that there's these different tiers. Their value is represented in like, I really like the this clear like price differentiation. And I mean, yeah, like we want to protect the value delta between the tiers. I think there's something to say that, like, going back to this tweet I had about ROMs are kind of like 4 out of 10. We definitely want to like increase and bring up like the base utility and value perception of ROMs, but then also like recognize and maintain that value delta as well. because it goes back to just what we were discussing, which is like, hey, now you have different ways that people can play the game and come in at different levels. So if you think of them in that respect, like, hey, there's this kind of, right now there's like entry level ROM, which is, you know, silver 8 MB. And then I think the 16 MBs are kind of close, maybe a fraction higher. But then, yeah, like if you, as this like player who's just come in, doesn't fully understand all the differences yet, the market has actually answered that for you, right? Between the delta between silver, gold and void, and void and giga. So yeah, I think it's just it's important, no matter whether you're building like a game, you know, with like a utility kind of collection that has like a real use in the game, like ROMs, or you're building like an NFT, like Azuki. Azuki had some of the best sort of trait differentiation back in the day. If you remember, like the pricing between
Insane.
rares and things. And people love that game, right? They love to know, like, hey, what I have is special, and it's either in a tangible way or an intangible way. And it's kind of a shame that through like a combination of you know, factors and reasons over time, I think it's become a lot harder for PFP collections to maintain that trait premium and that trait delta. Frankly, it's kind of easier for us as a game, because we can, like, there can be very hard, quantifiable, tangible differences between the tiers.
Yeah, no, so my collection for ROMs has slowly been getting smaller, but I have slowly been switching. So I've been trying to go for trading silvers into gold for right now. I do have a void. I have a couple silvers, but
Nice.
I've been looking into the tier system thing, and I personally would like to start getting more of the higher tiers to see what, you know, comes in the future for those.
Yeah. I mean, it's really fun for us to as well see people approach it differently. Yeah, so I'll be curious to see how your collection
Yeah,
how it takes shape.
I'm slowly, you know, starting to get into it and starting to like break down how much of each ROM that I have and like the materials and everything. And now we're restructuring the collection to better fit my faction and needs, basically.
Yeah, awesome to hear it, man. I'll be keeping an eye.
So, where do you see Gigaverse 1 to 2 years from now?
So I see no reason right now why we can't grow to be like the largest crypto-enabled game. And I think then, okay, so what? Being large doesn't necessarily mean the best or the most value. It does if depending on your design, right? Like, can the game experience be more fun through, you know, now there's like this network effect of there's more social connections, there's more people are taking different approaches to the game, there's more cultures involved, there's more competition, and so on. So I think that's our opportunity. Like, we're building the game to be very easy to play, very accessible. Like, yes, we publish docs, but they're meant to be like, yeah, you really want to like try to min-max or access extra information or like dig deep into the lore. We don't want to be one of those games that people need to look at the docs to know how to play. You should know how to play just by like what you see on the screen. And as you think about it more, and as you get wrecked for the first time, second time, so on, you figure it out, you get better from there. And yeah, I mean, I think also beyond even just a crypto native audience, we again we take a lot of inspiration from really, really good timeless like Web2 games. Like my co-founder, who is essentially, you know, he's CTO, he's lead engineer, but he's also run his own indie game studio, and he's built a number of successful. He was building larger games in like venture-backed companies, but he's also built his own indie games. So like he'll take inspiration from like a Stardew Valley or whatever, right? And so we see no reason why ultimately we can't have people from outside of crypto want to play this game. I think it's really important when you are early like we are. Definitely, it's just very important you don't try to serve both audiences. That doesn't work. You got to lean in hard one way or another. But as time grows and you consolidate a base of one audience or another, then sure, like there is a version of the future where we see Gigaverse and other games successfully scale out of this sort of like little bubble that we're in, and bring on board like a lot of gamers who just want to play a fun game. So just to like recap, we think there's a really big opportunity in front of us. We're not trying to like completely reinvent the wheel with what we're doing. We're just trying to get like the core mechanics feeling really, really good. It's a place you want to spend time in. It's a game that you want to bring your friends to. The more people who play the game, the better it is for everyone. And we're staying laser focused on crypto native folks at this very early stage. But down the line, I think the opportunity is much broader than that for us.
I agree. I think you guys are building out something really good, and a lot of things that we went through today, highlight that in my opinion. So I do think the future is bright for Gigaverse. And going into that, what you just said, we actually had a question from someone in the audience that really ties right into that. So I would like to ask you, will there be a way to skip the abstract step for Web 2 players who want to join Gigaverse? Right now, you need to set up abstract first if you want to play.
I mean, eventually we're going to have to figure out, but we've been in close contact with all the chads at Abstract, and including Saigar and the technical team members about this. And I know they want to get to a point where, yes, like anyone who if your first, let's say your first interaction with an Abstract app or game is say via a mobile app, or you're finding this app or game via like whatever the channel is, and you have a non-crypto means of payment, then there's like a way that you like what would be the ultimate, right? Like if the tech permits it and regulations permit it, like you'd love someone to just like, hey, I'm going to like pay using existing payment methods saved on my phone. I'm going to double tap pay with Apple Pay. We've seen this exist elsewhere, right? Like it's done and it's been like a solved thing. Like you see that in there's an app called Rally.xyz, which some of my friends are building. Moonshot does this. So again, like you're not asking the end user to have any crypto or to use any other form of any other sort of first step. It's like, oh, you want to use this app or you want to like buy this thing? Double tap Apple Pay, done. And so I think Abstract, they have to get there, right? That's like, this is very important for their vision. And so yeah, I mean we're not trying to do that tomorrow, so we have time.
100%. I agree with you. I do believe creating that illusion between gaming and actually being on a Web3 or a crypto, and also creating that illusion between like I'm trying to earn money versus I'm just trying to play and enjoy and have fun and get into this game. So definitely do agree there, and I do think Abstract is on the right track to get there, which is why we love Abstract so much. It's definitely bridging consumer crypto and making that a real thing, which has been amazing to be a part of, really.
100%. Yeah, I mean, going back to your question of like, did we consider other chains and chat to other chains? Yes. So after we launched, there was the question of like, how did we feel that we made the right choice? And like, honestly, we felt it at the very beginning, but as time goes on, we simply feel it more and more. So yeah, the boys are killing it, and it's only going to get better.
We have a few more audience questions. They're pretty quick. One is, when's fishing? I'll fire them away.
Yeah, I won't spoil any surprises. But
That was
just
BU, by the way. He's asking.
yeah.
uh,
BU is a legend.
yeah,
I'm keen to see. I know he streams too, so I'm very keen to see him stream fishing and stream some other stuff we have coming. So I hate to say it and to do it, but like, what's the meme? Soon TM,
soon,
right?
soon.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
Always be sooning, always be
If
soon
you know, you
maxing.
know. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess
Is that so annoying? Like,
his
God damn it.
question gets gets another if you know, you know, or
And
soon. It's when Gigas shards and dust usage.
already, who's asking this? Is this
Same, same.
same
It's
thing? Oh, okay. Because there's a couple of people I've been enjoying trolling on this one. Yeah, but basically, how much gigas? How many shards do you have, BU? Because you're going to need 1 million of them to craft 1 giga peanut.
that's the alpha for you guys right there.
Yeah, and then what you can do with the giga peanut is, that fishing thing you asked about. That's like one piece of bait.
That's literally that's one reel.
Yeah,
It's in there.
you have a 1% chance of catching a gigas fish.
Oh, that is
So
amazing. I love that.
no. Look, look, even with crafting, right? Crafting has started to answer some of these questions, or like, what the hell does this thing do? So all of this is going to be like revealed in time, and I know there are other games out there where there's this like item that for fucking years never gets a use.
Yes.
We're not going to do that to people. Like,
Thank
this shit.
God.
There's a plan for these things, and sometimes it's, you'll see the use, like an item will launch and you'll know immediately. Sometimes it's going to take weeks. Sometimes it'll take maybe longer. But we're not going to have anything that you're like randomly stacking and you get debated like, oh, it doesn't actually mean anything, it doesn't do anything.
I honestly love to hear that, because one of the things that I am doing and speculating on is buying those random items that we have no idea what they're used for. So I
It's a fun
love
part
to
of the
hear
game,
that.
right? It's a fun.
100%.
Yeah, like from a game design perspective, it's very intentional. It's funny, like some people want to play this game and they like the game of the speculation game of the item, and other people actually they don't like this game and it annoys them, and like they want to know everything up front. So it's a little bit of an opinionated take, but I think on the whole, like, there's demand for speculation in crypto. So I think there's a larger audience for like, hey, release the item, let people farm, and then we back into you knowing what it's for, and actually being able to do that thing with it. I think, on the whole, I think that's a game most people are quite happy with.
No, I agree. I think you guys are doing it the right way for sure. Which brings me to my question about what I really would like to know. When are we going to get some nice cosmetics for the game? I would love to know that.
What kind of cosmetics would you like?
I think, bro, like when I look at it, like you said, when I play these online games, and I've always had these like characters that I was building, and then I'm pretty sure at some point, we're going to be able to see other characters in the game, I'm guessing. So it's going to be like a
Mm-hmm.
lobby. So if that comes to, truth, people like having, I think, items that they can wear that brings no in-game value besides it being rare and looks good. It's simple as that. And I think it builds a great mindset, I guess, for the economy, because it's like, yeah, like I'm willing to pay for something that in this game just because I like it and the way it makes my character looks. I don't even care for any of the benefits for buying this item. I am simply buying it to wear it, and when I hang out with the homies in the game, I want them to know I got one of the only 7 or 10 of this item in the game. So I think that brings a little more fun in, like you said, like from the speculation aspect of it, and just from the fun aspect of it, of like, yeah, like it might not ever do anything, but it's a great visual in the game. Kind of going back to like it's almost like when you go on Fortnite and buy a skin, right? It brings you no value in game, but it differentiates you from other people in that game, and it shows like kind of your style in a sense.
Oh, I feel you completely. It's funny. Like one of my best childhood friends and we still game together. You know, he and we've been playing games. I don't know. It must be 3 decades now. There's some games that we've played together, like tens of thousands, yeah, like thousands of hours. Like we played a lot, right? PUBG, some strategy games, The Division, and we're we have a very different approach here. He's one of these people who like he creates his like basic bitch character and like never. That's it. Like he's just happy. He'll then put like 1,000 hours into the game, looking with like the base character. I'm like, wait,
What are you doing?
I'm like you. Like, I like to buy cool shit, and it's funny. It's like a little bit more of the. We're obviously NFT apes because it's the whole like I am my ape and my ape is me. Like I like to have my own look, right? So I feel you completely. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. And I think the one thing, the sort of like the nuance here is the skin. We probably see like the total number of skins and the type of skins. There's probably like a ratio there with like how the player base grows. So I mean, simply over time as the game grows and we introduce more cool stuff, and there's like different settings, different places you can get certain skins, and we have a larger player base too. There'll be more and more like cosmetic customization options. Something else I would also really love to do is through the process of building Gigaverse and building the community, we've come in touch with like so many like awesome artists. There's a very specific look to the game, look and feel that we want to uphold. Like I like how sort of consistent everything is. So you need to figure it out at some point. But man, it'd be really dope if it, limited edition skin that has to work within our within our parameters. Like it can't break
Sure.
the aesthetic of the game. But so long as that meets those requirements, it could be really fun to collab with artists on things like that. And as you point out, like other games have done this before, right? It's like a streamer collab, or it's an artist collab, or it's some sort of special event or something. There's a lot that we can do. Yeah, we're going to be experimenting with that kind of stuff over time.
One thing I would refer and bring back to that in my experience in my childhood for cosmetics was a game called Old School RuneScape. It's a game that I grew up on, the game that got me to like knowing about NFTs and the whole digital economy and aspects of it. And as a child, man, talking about something that came from an event, it was like in a gaming event, it became a rare item. And people really liked the way it looked. And they started trading this item that has no use in game except for wearing it, and it was the most thought out and most expensive item. It ended up being around 5 bill for the best color, and they were party hats. And these are things that were selling for real life money. I'm telling you, people were selling this for like $1,000, $2,000, and they were selling consistently on a daily basis. It was almost like after you were able to get max cash in OSRS, which is like 2.147 bill, you'd need to buy stuff for placeholders to like actually hold your gold. So their Bitcoin was basically like party hats in a way. That's kind of how they made the system. And then they started coming out with like Santa hats, Halloween masks, and stuff like that. Just kept going on the cosmetic end of things. So I think, I don't know how, if it would or if it wouldn't, I think it would be super epic to actually bring party hats themselves to Gigaverse. I think they would look and fit very well. I'm not sure, just something I wanted to throw out there, but I think
it's a very, very good suggestion.
And it brings a great deal of nostalgia to the game too, right? Because your game, like it's it's a medieval time zone, whatever. It's the same idea, and that party hat system. I think fits in, and I just envisioned my noob with a party hat, and I'm like, yeah, that looks sick. Like, so that's kind of what I always ask about win cosmetic. That's always the image that's popping up in my head.
All I'll say is like, just look out for some of these upcoming releases we're doing.
Okay, for sure. And we also got this question. Someone, Red wants to know about PvP. Is there anything you could tell us about that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that are like interesting sort of ways to. One is just there's an opportunity there to make this quite a high stakes thing, right? So how much do we want to crank up the stakes on that? We want it to matter, and we want people to feel like feel a bit of adrenaline. So we have a few ideas there where matches can matter. The second piece then is, maybe there's like a version. We want accessibility is important, right? Like you want to feature that even a player who joined the game yesterday, they can play. And then you also want a version where like, well, what about the guys who have like the best fucking gear? And they've spent the time like grinding and buying the stuff and leveling it up, and they want to put that shit to use. So you've seen this in, you mentioned other MMOs. I think it's kind of a solved question where you can have maybe a version where stats are like normalized, right? Where everyone who PvPs is on the same level. Stats are essentially like normalized, or maybe when you start the game, everyone, you each get like 10 stat points you can attribute however you want. You don't know how your enemy is going to attribute theirs. And then there's this other version, which is like non-normalized, or like, I don't know, you call it like hardcore mode. And it's just like, you bring in your gear. You bring in your gear, and you're assuming that your gear is going to like hold up versus whoever you go up against, just depending how matchmaking works. If there's like an elo type system or what. And then it's like a case of like, okay, if now people are bringing in their own gear, is there like a mechanic we want to add there? So, however PvP looks in the beginning, I think, like anything, it's going to end up like evolving, growing, getting, there'll be variations and more modes and things as we go. I guess it's just like, among other things, we're in this like nice spot right now where there's like a bunch of stuff that the community wants, and the fun challenge is like nailing the prioritization. We're releasing things in like a specific sequence, and working on one thing now means we can't work on another thing. But I do want to get to PvP soon. I personally am more of a PvP guy than a PvE guy.
Same. I hate PVM.
which is why we love crypto, right?
Yeah. I love all I do is PvP on RuneScape. I don't PVM at all. So to get to your PvP suggestion, for someone who's been doing PvP for about 20 years of their life now, I think your suggestion of like starting out where everyone has the same base works out really well right now, because there is a gap between people who are playing, especially if you have more ROMs or you started out earlier. But I think when the foundation of the game is done, and the game's been out for some time, and it would make more sense then to switch over to whatever you got is what you have, and that's how it goes. And there's also an interesting suggestion here with that. I would guess this would be more for the first mode where everyone's playing at a base same level, where they're saying it would be cool to wager bolts or materials in those games as well.
Yeah, wagering items could be really cool. That's like a kind of a way that you do. It's kind of like it's kind of like just another take on having like a consequential wager, right? but leveraging what's already in the game rather than asking people to like put any money on the line or anything.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. Thank you, Dith. It's been a pleasure having you. This was an amazing first episode for Block Talk. I hope everyone here had a good time. I hope everyone enjoyed the session. I hope you guys got as much alpha as you needed and learned more about Dith and Gigaverse. Like I said, this is one of my favorite games on Abstract. This is one of the most games that I spend the most time on. So this was a lot of fun. If you guys have any other questions, or if Dith, you have anything you'd also like to say,
just to say thanks and well done, man. First stream, super good vibe and very sort of like relaxing type sort of environment you created for me as a guest. So bullish on you doing more of these. And yeah, like look forward to hearing your thoughts when we release some cool shit.
Thank you. And I hope, in maybe a month or two from now, when we have a little more updates, we'll get you back up here and we'll run this back.
All right, deal.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys for coming here. It means the world to me for coming to my first episode of Block Talk. We will see you guys next week. Thank you and much love. Peace.